every time you're on, Sid, I feel like we're talking about Isco and his future and new development today. Ruben de la Red, who used to play for Real Madrid, now part of the club, came out and said Real Madrid is a club that does not wait for anyone. Every player in the squad is good enough to take your place, and so whoever isn't performing to the required level will be left behind. Isco then took to social media to respond to this. He tweeted, "Totally agree with de la Red, but when you are not enjoying the same chances as your teammates, things change. Still I'm working and fighting, waiting for those opportunities, a la Madrid." Sid, what do you make of all of this?
Well, I think what we make of it, first of all, of course, is that this is a confirmation of what we already knew. But it's nice to have that confirmation that Isco feels like he's not getting the opportunities, that Isco feels like this is more than simply a manager choosing other players ahead of him, that every time someone is out and you think, well, maybe there's a chance of Isco getting in the team, it doesn't happen. I think he's only started 3 times as Solari, and they were all basically unimportant matches. So I think that's the first thing to say. The second thing, I guess, is that while, and I don't know what the guys in the studio feel about this, but while I can understand that players get frustrated and that players speak out, of course, this won't do him any favours. This won't help him. And it's not the first time, I think, that Isco has allowed himself to be riled and say something in public which doesn't help. It's not the brightest of responses from him. And the truth is, he's not going to get those opportunities. And it's not just because he's got a manager who doesn't really see where he fits. He's got a manager that isn't particularly enamoured with him. It is partly, and this is, of course, what De La Red was getting at, it is partly, of course, about Isco, about whether Isco does enough in training sessions in those few minutes that he gets in games to try and demonstrate that he deserves those opportunities.
From a coach's point of view, do you look at Twitter and go, oh, he says he's working as hard as everyone else, I should give him a chance, Stevie?
Do you know, 99 times out of 100, I would agree with Sid that, you know, speaking out like this does you no favours. But I think it's gone too far. You know, this is not 2 or 3 weeks we're talking about here. Since the very minute he's been left out, he hasn't been given an opportunity. You know, there's one thing to complain after you've been given an opportunity and not taking it. And you've got De La Red saying, well, he needs to do maybe more in training or giving somebody up. But when the manager is throwing you into situations where you can't do well, then what do you expect? So normally I'm against him speaking out, but I think it's gone so long and it's become so obvious that he's just been blackballed, then that's it.
There may just be a reason as to why he's being, as you say, blackballed. There has to be, if you're Santi Solari and you have had multiple opportunities to play Isco, given the injuries that Real Madrid has had, and you've decided to go in other directions to put just about everybody else on the field except Isco, there's got to be more than just him blackball. He's got to be seeing things in training that he doesn't care for. He's got to be seeing a behavior from the player that he doesn't care for. And he says, you know what? You have chances here in front of you. This is where I could use you. And even when this is where I could use you, it looks like, and again, this is us just kind of taking the information from the outside looking in, it's almost as if Isco says, you know what, I don't really need to work as hard as I have to in order to make sure that I am available to be chosen by the manager.
I think he's gone too far. I don't think it matters what Isco does in training. Solari's made his mind up, and regardless of what he does or doesn't do, you can't tell me that Solari doesn't know what Isco does.
Well, what's amazing though is whether it's a drop off, because no doubt that Isco was playing fantastic football. I mean, he's a top player. There's no doubt in my mind that there's loads of suitors going to be out there to pick him up. But you don't all of a sudden fall off the rock face like he's done. He's too good a footballer. You know, we're hearing about whether he's going to be thrown into a deal or maybe at Chelsea with Hazard. Who knows? But there is a place for this guy to play top-level football. I'm convinced of it.
And going back just for a second to the social media stuff, we go back to when he's taking pictures of himself, having an argument with whoever said that he was overweight, and say, well, look, I'm not overweight. Why? Right. Why? It does absolutely nothing for him. And if indeed it doesn't matter what he does in training and he's not going to play because Santi Solari is simply not going to play him, you cannot take the position of saying, well, I'm just not getting my chances, so that's it. You're a professional.
Yep.
And you're paid to show up every day. As difficult and as tough as it may be, you're paid to show up every day and behave in a certain manner.
Well, what you do, you show yourself as a professional to all the, as I said earlier, all the suitors that are looking at Isco.
Yeah, of course.
What's going on with this kid? So if he's ultra professional, then they've been knocking the door now.
If he hadn't opened his mouth, right, what would have happened?
Well, nothing.
Nothing, exactly. Nobody would have known. Nobody would have any idea what's going on.
But if this sets a
People
trend,
would
then
just
anyone
say,
who's not
"Why is
playing
Isco
just
not
takes to
playing?"
Twitter and tweets out going, I'm trying as hard as everyone else.
After 4 months, I would certainly be doing something. You have to do something. Unless you want every football player to sit in a corner and just be at the whim of the manager and say nothing.
But what sort of coach does that make Sandy Solari if he's influenced by a tweet?
Well, it doesn't make him a very good one, does it? It doesn't make him.
So then why do it?
It doesn't make his man management very good. I'm sticking up for Isco here. As far as Sandy Solari is concerned, I've told you exactly. He's blackballed him, and that's it. But if you're Isco, what do you do? Can you tell me what else he can do other than reply now? Because nobody's doing anything for him.
Go on, Sid.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, you say, does this change anything in terms of Solari's position so therefore what's the point in the tweet? I suppose what I would say in response to that, and partly actually with Steve slightly defend Isco in this, is I don't think this is necessarily for Solari's consumption. Isco knows what the situation is with Solari. As Steve says, he believes that there's no way back from this. And this isn't really as a way of saying to Solari, come on, give me a go, because I've said publicly that you're not giving me a go. It's his way of saying to people publicly, look, I'm doing what I can, but there's only so much I can do. It's also, I know it's not the wisest thing to do, and as I said before, I don't think this will really help him, but it's a very polite tweet. It's a relatively carefully worded tweet. And then very briefly, to pick up on something that Ali said when he said, when Solari looks at it, says, well, I could use you there. I do think that's another element in all of this with Isco. There isn't actually, that there doesn't exist at Real Madrid. Isco wants to be the number 10 behind the strikers, and that position doesn't exist in the formation that Solari wants to play. It's not just about players. I think it's also about the system.